Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra says policy rates can be cut if inflation forecast is lower or growth slows further. Adds a neutral stance does not mean we cannot cut rates and can go in either direction. That's an exclusive.
For foreign banks, they can go up to 100%. So if you don't allow them even 26%, that kind of seems to defy logic.
RBI Governor says not allowing foreign banks to own a 26% stake in Indian banks defies logic. Says the RBI will examine cases if any requests are made. The Governor also ruled out any bank licenses to corporates. The Sensex and the Nifty snap a 4-day losing streak. Mid-caps outperformed the blue chips. 2 stocks advance for every declining stock. Tesla drives into India. The showroom is now open in Mumbai. The Model Y will be available at a starting price of 60 lakh rupees. The cars are currently being imported from the company's Shanghai factory. A Federation of International Pilots says that the preliminary report into the Air India plane crash by its very nature raises many questions and any extrapolation can be regarded only as guesswork. Cautions against drawing conclusions from preliminary information. The External Affairs Minister Jaishankar meets China's President XiJinping, appraises him about recent developments in bilateral ties. This is Minister Jaishankar's first visit to China in 5 years after the Galwan clash between both armies. The Supreme Court directs Samay Raina and 4 other comedians to appear in person following a petition over comments made on differently abled people. The court observes the right to free speech cannot prevail over the right to life and dignity. India's Shubhanshu Shukla returns from the International Space Station along with 3 other astronauts of the Axiom 4 mission. He is the first Indian to visit the ISS and spent 18 days in space. Well, let's start with the market action today. The market snapping a 4-day losing streak. The Sensex gained over 300 points and the Nifty up over 100 points. Broader markets outperformed the blue chips today. The mid-cap index gained over 550 points. But let's go straight to the big story this evening. In his first television interview since taking charge, RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra said policy rates can be cut if inflation forecast is lower than the current estimate of 3.7% or if growth slows even further. Speaking to Lata, Governor Malhotra said RBI's neutral stance gives the flexibility to go in either direction and does not mean there will be no rate cuts. The Governor also asserted price stability is our core mandate and primary objective. He also said transmission of the recent rate cuts is happening on new loans. Another important statement from the Governor was about the foreign ownership of Indian banks. Governor Malhotra said not allowing foreign banks to own a 26% stake in Indian banks defies logic. He promised RBI will examine cases if any requests are made. The Governor was also asked about this in the context of Dubai-based Emirates NDB Bank potentially picking up a stake in private lender RBL Bank. The Governor also ruled out any bank licenses to corporates. Here are the excerpts from his first television interview. Here's the RBI Governor, Sanjay Malhotra, in conversation with Lata Venkatesh.
What is the trigger for a rate cut? Will it be more lower inflation or will it be lower growth?
It's a mix of the two. It's a mix of the two, really. One can't really say that it is inflation which is more important than growth numbers. For us, as you are aware, it is primarily we look at price stability. That is our core mandate. That is the primary objective. And then we look at growth also. Both are equally important. And I would not say that, we would give more emphasis as of now to either numbers. We also need to be aware of the composition of the inflation, and especially when I say composition, I mean, the momentum and the base effect. Of course, core and food is another way of looking at it. But how is this inflation going to look forward in future? That will be more important rather than the 2.1% or the current inflation that we have.
Inflation is likely to be around 3%. That is well below 4% for practically all of 2025 calendar. And that makes it 2.5 percentage points, 250 percentage point real rate. For a good 9 months, from March, it is at 3% and it will be that way all the way till December. More importantly, sir, now the WPI has come in negative. So, that also impacts manufacturers, that level of deflation. So I'm asking, when you say neutral, is it one third hike, pause, cut, or will the percentage of cut be a little more given the kind of deflation number we are getting in WPI and
No,
stuff?
see, firstly, let me say that monetary policy, as I've mentioning, it is forward-looking. At the point of time when the MPC met last in June, the inflation numbers, even though at that point of time were about 3% or so, right? But forward-looking was 3.7%. So even if you want to give, weightage, again, going back to your question of this real rate of interest or neutral rate of interest, even if you were to give importance to that, which I'm not saying is not relevant at all, of course it is relevant. The difference was about 1.9, it's less than 2%, it's very much, within the band. And neutral, as I've already mentioned, it doesn't mean that we can't, move up, move down. We can certainly, move down. But for that, yes, the outlook has to change. Whether it will go down to 3%, I don't know. We will let you know.
The street is 3.3 now for the full year, FY26.
Yeah, so we'll be coming out with our numbers. You're right, there is an expectation, correctly so, that the inflation will be perhaps, for this year, not 3.7%, but lower than that. That's certainly on the cards. And if that happens, the monetary policy will have a look at it and take a call. I don't want to preempt, what the MPC is going to do, but I'm only emphasizing that we will continue to look, we'll continue to be data dependent and continue to look at the incoming data, and especially, the outlook, and the situation so warrants, we can move either ways, which can, even be downwards.
Okay. You were talking about that you will review bank ownership rules more in the instance of...
Yes, we are, of course, reviewing it and seeing, as to what can be the other ways, means to raise capital, who can be other participants, because you have the small finance banks, you have the payment banks, you have the cooperative banks, how, we can tweak, change some of these, the foreign banks, how, we can make some of the changes so as to be able to attract more capital for the banking industry.
That's why I brought this question, really.
Yes.
There are two foreign banks wanting to buy stakes in Indian banks. SMBC, the announcement from Yes Bank has already come and they are awaiting your permission.
Right.
Now, hitherto RBI had only given permission to foreign banks to cross that 15% when the bank was in trouble, like in Catholic Syrian's case or in Lakshmi Vilas, where of course DBS bought the whole bank. Now, Yes Bank, you have the odd situation of State Bank having, its own banking license and owning 24% in Yes Bank. So, RBI probably wants that to end. But in the case of RBL, we understand NBD is very interested. So, what is, first of all, have the cases come to you? And more importantly, if you are going to give permission, like even IDBI is apparently, the interested parties all want 26%. So, as a rule, will you want to change from 15 to 26?
See, as per the FDI policy, the foreign banks are allowed up to 74%.
Yes.
All right. And the foreign banks can actually start business in our country 100%. As even up to 100%. So that's even more than 74%.
But they don't want that. They want to get into, established Indian banks.
Yeah, so, Indian promoters are already allowed up to even more than, 26% stake to be brought down to 26% stake within a period of 15 years.
Yeah.
Voting rights, of course, because of the Banking Regulation Act, cannot be, even if the share financial stake is more than 26%, cannot be more than 26%. So even foreign banks can certainly have, 26% stake, economic interest, voting rights.
Yeah.
There should not be any difficulty in them having, up to 26% stake in a bank, in an Indian bank.
Okay. No, it's just that until now it was only given.
They have not come. So we have not, your question as to whether some cases have come to us for having 26%, they have not. But if they come, we will certainly, we are already reviewing the policy, as you are saying. There is some kind of, I mean, their clarity is not there, some ambiguity is there, as you are saying. No, we'll try to bring in, these clarifications and bring clarity in these guidelines.
Okay. And no, until now at 15%, it was kind of a hard stop, and case by case Reserve Bank was allowing. So I'm just asking if that 15% hard stop.
As I mentioned to you, for foreign banks, they can go up to 100%. So if you don't allow them even 26%, that kind of seems to defy logic.
And you can catch that entire conversation with the RBI Governor at 5:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And now on to the big story of the day, Tesla's India launch.
2, 3.
The speculation, back and forth, deliberations. Elon Musk's Tesla has officially entered India. The EV maker opened its first India showroom at the Maker Max City Mall in Mumbai's Bandakulla complex. The EV giant has two variants of the Model Y on display at its 4,000 square foot showroom. The Model Y will be available at a starting price of 60 lakh rupees, which includes import duties and tariffs. The cars have been imported from Tesla's Shanghai factory. My colleague Parikshit Luthra takes you inside Tesla's Mumbai showroom.
Tesla is finally here in this 4,000 square feet space in Maker Max City Mall, BKC, Mumbai. They've only launched the Model Y for now, and this is the car that is available. Now, with a $37,000 price tag in the US, you have to add a 70% duty in India. That takes up the price of this car to 61 lakhs for the rear-wheel drive version and to 69 lakhs for the long-range version. Now, what do you get in terms of performance? In terms of range first, the car can go up to 500 kilometers with the rear-wheel drive version and 622 kilometers with the long-range version. In terms of speed, the top speed of the Model Y is 200 kilometers per hour. It can go from 0 to 100 in 5.6 or 5.9 seconds.
We are hiring. You have seen it. We are hiring. So we will local team. Yeah, we are doing. India has so much incredible talents. Yeah, so we don't need talents. We have many talents locally. So we're going to hire local.
We're inside the Tesla Model Y right now. One of the highlights is this 15.4-inch screen that you get with this car. The seating is ventilated. You've got climate control settings inside the vehicle. You've got entertainment settings. And Tesla has its own audio system. You've got double LED acoustic glass that you've got all over with this Tesla. Let's move on to the second row to find out more about this vehicle. Well, now I'm in the second row of the Tesla Model Y electric SUV. Over here too, there is a 8-inch screen for the passengers sitting in this row. So if they want to control the temperature within the car, entertainment or lighting, all of that can be done with the touch of this screen.
Every purchase, limited offer, every Tesla order will come with a wall connector. You can install at your workplace, your home. We enable charging.
Tesla has announced that there will be 4 charging centers in both Delhi and Mumbai. They'll install 16 superchargers and 16 destination chargers in each city. Now, every Tesla customer who buys the Model Y will get this home charger for free. You can install it on the wall of your garage and you can charge your car overnight. There will be superchargers only in specific locations in Mumbai and in Delhi, and these can charge your car up to 250 kilometers in about 15 minutes or so. The pricing for charging your cars with the help of the supercharger will be announced by Tesla in the weeks to come. Tesla has announced that they will start deliveries from September this year for the rear-wheel drive version, and the long-range version will be delivered by Q4 of this calendar year. The company is also hoping that duties will come down with the India-EU FTA. Let's see what happens and whether the company will also come up with a plan to manufacture in India soon. With video journalist Bharat Kori from the Tesla showroom here in BKC, Mumbai, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Well, the suspense finally over. And here's Siam President Shailesh Chandra, who also heads the passenger vehicle division at Tata Motors, reacting to Tesla's India entry.
I'm very neutral to it, I can say, because it's a very attractive market as a country, very favorable EV policies. So there will be all kind of OEMs who would like to also participate in the growth journey that we might see in the EV industry.
And staying with EVs, VinFast Auto's Indian subsidiary, that's the Vietnamese EV maker, has commenced bookings for two premium EVs. The VF7 and the VF6 models will be sold in August after the inauguration of the company's plant in Tamil Nadu. The company said the deliveries will follow later. Shares of Ola Electric in focus today after the company's losses narrowed in the first quarter this fiscal year. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the company's chairman and MD Bhavish Aggarwal said Ola was looking into issues that the company faces in Maharashtra, adding that the management is engaging with authorities. He also clarified that the company has not heard anything from the Maharashtra government pertaining to stores being shut down. Take a look.
The confusion that happened was the registration and registration numbers mismatched in February or March, and I think in our Q4 results we actually clarified that with a proper walk of how the numbers stacked up. So I think in the public domain, definitely this issue has been now behind us. SEBI and we had many conversations, and whatever questions they asked, we definitely clarified.
Well, that's Bhavish Aggarwal. Up next, the Federation of Indian International Pilots says the preliminary report into the Air India plane crash by its very nature raises many questions, and any extrapolation can be regarded only as guesswork. That and more when we return. VIVAC India has secured a green signal from market regulator SEBI for its IPO. The IPO will comprise an offer for sale component up to 4.3 crore shares. This includes 3.3 crore shares from promoter Embassy Group, JM Financial and ICICI Securities among the running lead managers. The Indian Sugar Mills Association has expressed concern after the government advisory directed the display of sugar and oil boards in public institutions. Now, these boards will inform consumers of hidden sugar and fat content in foods consumed on a daily basis. The Health Ministry said the move is aimed at making people aware of calories intake. ISMA has argued that it risks creating fear and confusion by focusing only on the negative aspects of sugar. The Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar met Chinese President Xi Jinping during his two-day visit to China. In a post on X, Jaishankar said he appraised the Chinese president about the normalization of bilateral ties between the two nations. This is the minister's first visit to China since tensions through the Galwan Valley clash along the line of control in 2020. Tech giant NVIDIA has announced that the Trump administration has granted approval to sell its advanced H20 AI chips to Chinese buyers. NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang has said that he hopes the company will resume these sales to China soon. This announcement came after the company's CEO met with President Trump. Now, Federation of International Pilots say the preliminary report into the Air India plane crash by its very nature raises many questions. The Federation also said that extrapolation at this stage can only be regarded as guesswork and has cautioned against drawing any conclusions from the preliminary information. Meanwhile, after the fuel control switches the fuel valves of Boeing planes under the lens, the British aviation regulator has acted on a 2015 directive from the US regulator just a couple of months ago. Madhya standing by with more on all the recent developments. Madhya, let's start with the probe into the fuel valves. In the UK, what do we know so far, and why, after almost 10 years of the FAA issuing a directive, is the UK acting now?
Exactly. So this is this safety notice from the UK aviation regulator regarding the fuel shutoff valves was issued in May this year. The notice was referring to an airworthiness directive issued by the US FAA 10 years back, as you mentioned, in 2015. This is separate from the 2018 safety bulletin from the FAA that warned about fuel switches possibly moving on their own due to disengagement of the locks. So in 2018, directive FAA had warned about a problem with the 2015, the FAA had warned about a problem with the fuel shutoff valves actuators on Boeing aircraft, including the 787 Dreamliner. Now, why that matters is these valves that are the valves that physically stop the flow of fuel to the engine when the pilots pull the fuel switch to cut off. The FAA had flagged a risk in 2015 that these valves might have hidden faults, what they call latent failures. So they may look fine from the outside but not perform their functions as needed. The FAA directive had said that airlines needed to test these valves every 10 days, swap out faulty parts and update their maintenance manuals. So the UK aviation regulators notice in May 2025 basically asked airlines to make sure they followed FAA's 2015 directive. Now, why this is significant? The AAIB preliminary report on AI-171 crash says it was the fuel control switches that transitioned from run to cutoff during takeoff, which caused both the engines to lose thrust. The report has opened debates on who could have moved the switches, since the AIB has not provided the entire transcript of the cockpit recording. It also doesn't mention how the fuel switches moved. Meanwhile, the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations issued a statement saying, and I quote, "The preliminary report by its very nature raises many questions. It does not provide answers, and any extrapolation of its content can only be regarded as guesswork, which is not helpful to the good conduct of the investigation," end of quote. So the final report is still some time away. These older safety directives by the FAA might hold key clues to what really went wrong with the flight that crashed in Ahmedabad seconds after taking off on the 12th of June, killing at least 260 people.
All right, Madhya, many thanks for joining us. Moving on, before we wrap, Indian astronaut group captain Shubhanshu Shukla has returned from the International Space Station along with 3 other astronauts of the Axiom 4 mission. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft splashed down on the coast of California at 3 p.m. today. Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla is the first Indian to visit the ISS and spent 18 days at the space station. He will now undergo a 7-day rehabilitation program. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.